Howdy, folks. I'm Black Dragon, and welcome to another edition of Black Dragon Biker News Network. Biker news you can trust. And as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in from wherever it is in the world that you happen to be. Wow. Is the chat not working? That's crazy. Oh my goodness, this program, bro. Somebody send me a chat. This is crazy. Listen, are we going to just be like chatless? Oh my goodness, this program. Whoa. What in the heck just popped up there? That, wow, something is not going well here. Do you guys see that over there? I don't even know. Wow. What in Great Minnetonka is going on here? This is interesting because we don't change anything. We just, leave it up and come back in the next day, run a quick test, and then everything should be copacetic. And then these programs are so interesting. Give me a second here. Let me, for my listening audience. Okay, let's see what's going on here. There we go. I think it might be back. Did it work? It worked. All right. It worked. Okay. So we rebooted the system, and everything's back. I love how you keep your cool and not curse. Oh, I got some curse words rolling around on the inside of me. I promise. If I could find a dependable streaming service, and I understand they probably have millions of people streaming at the same time, and they have Zoom, and ever since ever since the pandemic, streaming services are being killed, I would imagine. But when you do this and you have a big old live audience, and then boom, blank screen, it's like every couple days. Come on. Anyway, I'm Black Dragon, and I appreciate you all for tuning into Black Dragon Biker News Network, Biker News you can trust. And as always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in from wherever it is in the world that you happen to be. Sorry for the inconvenience. So we're going to get into the story this morning. We do Biker News Monday through Friday. Now I got this noise going on inside the headphones, so we'll try to fix that as we move along. Hey, man. Listen. We've seen all kinds of crazy things go on as being bikers in the world. Bikers that wear colors. That's what most of us are that follow Black Dragon Biker TV, or you're or you're into that sort of thing, or interested in it, or identify with it, or want to know more about it, or something like that. That's where most folks sit that would follow this kind of a channel. And as such, we find ourselves under attack a great deal by governmental forces. Mostly for us, it's law enforcement. But we see, the my motorcycle club in the same neighborhood for, oh my God, half a century. There was a time when we had a congressman. He's dead now, but we had a congressman in our district, very famous for our district, black congressman, who decided he didn't like our club. And this guy, I don't want to call his name out. I don't want to be sued by his family or anything, but this guy for decades went after our club using every governmental force, every little law enforcement, every little civic kind of rule he could come up with, every kind of little city rule he could come up with to try to destroy our club because he didn't like it, even though he himself would have his ass in there partying from time to time. We had a club that we had an operation where we would have a nightclub that would work after hours. So everybody would come hang out at us from 2 a.m. till daylight, Friday and Saturday nights, mostly. And I mean, you could see anybody in there, football players, governors, anybody that wanted to hang out on the black side of town after hours. You had maybe one or two choices. Black Sabbath was one of them. And they would come and hang out all night long. You could see the smallest people all the way up to the most influential people in our clubhouse, because we were the only thing open, really, basically, and people would hang out with us all night long. This person decided he didn't want us around, so they would use very nasty little kinds of laws against us that often we were not protected enough. We didn't have enough money to fight the BS they came up with. Like one day we walked out in front of the clubhouse, and our clubhouse was on a corner. You had Market Street, very busy street. And we sat on a corner where you would just pull up to the curb and park your motorcycle in front of the clubhouse, all the way down for a mile or two sometimes, down the street on this corner. And the thing was that one day we came out, and on the corner, they painted a red. They painted red on the curb. They painted no parking on the curb in front of our clubhouse. So that you could, one day they just showed up and painted a red curb in front of our clubhouse so that you could no longer park there. They decided they didn't want us there anymore, and they just painted the curb. Now, and then they ticketed everybody that went and parked in front of the clubhouse like we had been doing for decades. It was absolutely like unbelievable. I think, look here. I got a picture of it right here. So I hope you guys can see this. I'm going to try to enlarge this. Dago Sumo, if you're watching, you'll see your old self there. So this is the clubhouse and then so here's the club based on it's the club is on a corner, and as the street goes up there, and then Market Street's in front. If you will see one day, you can see the red right here. One day they just came and they painted a red curb, a red no parking in front of the entire freaking club. You can see it right there. Just came and painted it. And overnight, we went from being able to park in front of our clubhouse for, 35, 40 years, 25, 30 years. We went from being able to park in front of our clubhouse to not being able to park in front of our clubhouse just overnight. Now, there was no. Do you remember that? Oh, Dago, you're on. You remember that? You remember that picture? There's we got Dago Sumo. Now this is we got to show him again. This is when my boy was a big man, a big dude. Yeah, he is nothing like this anymore. This was Dago Sumo, boy. If he'd hit you with one of them hams back then, that would have been it, bro. But they just came out one day and painted this red curb around the clubhouse, and all of a sudden you couldn't park there. You'd get your motorcycle towed, or you would get a fine or something. My office was right next door to the clubhouse. The first office I ever had in the world. The Black Sabbath gave me my first office. So we had this entire corner, and then it went down the street this way, another office front. So this would be now known as the Hog Riders Motorcycle Club, which is next door to ours. But we had that whole building, and they chopped the clubhouse in half, basically, and gave me my first office. Bunch Publishing came from my club brothers. They gave me my first damn office. That's why I love motorcycle clubs. Oh, you want to be a publisher? Oh, you want to publish magazines and newspapers for a living? Okay, well, let's chop the clubhouse in half, so now you'll have an office. This is what my club brothers did for me. And I've done nothing but progress forward. So there was no way to defeat that. City Hall just decided couldn't park in front of our club anymore. This was this councilman's way of getting rid of it. He wasn't he was a councilman. I don't know what I said he was before, but he was a councilman. This is what the councilman did to get rid of us. And it just so happened that I owned some traffic schools at the time, and I knew the laws, and I realized that you can't put this red curb in front of our club without a traffic engineering survey. You can't just come paint it. And so it was funny because in the morning they would come paint it, and when we would come we'd get off work about 5, we'd go to the clubhouse, and we would paint it back gray again. So we'd park in front of it in the evening. First thing in the morning, they'd come back and paint it back red again. And this went on, us painting the clubhouse, the curb gray, and them painting it red. This went on forever, for a while, until myself and fellow publisher, the guy who taught me how to publish and taught me how to write books, William Patrick DeShields, who was the publisher. I was the editor-in-chief. He was the publisher of the San Diego News-Link newspaper. And so what we did was I started to scream about the police corruption and how they were effing with us. A historic black motorcycle club in San Diego that they just decided they were going to shut down. And it was through those newspaper posts that finally brought the city to my doorstep, next door to the clubhouse. to say, hey, you got to stop posting this stuff about us, man. This was before social media. This is before you could get a petition and everybody come running against you and all that. This is before all that. You had to create your own newspaper. You know how much that cost? You had to create your own damn newspaper and create your own public opinion on your own dime, using your own ingenuity. You didn't get to get on Facebook and have a flash mob show up somewhere. That, man, I wish these kids understood the power of communication that they have today that we just didn't have. We had payphones. You know, this was in the mid 90s. So I was able to create this newspaper and distribute it for free all over Southeast San Diego. And all of a sudden, you know, people started noticing that, hey, and then there was another newspaper in town owned by John Warren, who I believe is now deceased. Was it called The Voice and Viewpoint? Something like that. And he would just tear the police department down. So I remember that during that time, they had killed a black football player who had accidentally gone into somebody's house when he was drunk, went to sleep. When he woke up, the cops were there and shot him up, something like this. And so all this was going on. And then here comes my newspaper screaming about him. And so basically, we created a system where they had to come and they had to sit down with us at the table, and they basically erased that damn curve from in front of our clubhouse and a whole bunch of other stuff. But we won. But I want you to understand, in order to win, we had to create a damn newspaper to beat those guys, to actually be able to operate our motorcycle club when a city councilman and a few others decided that we no longer deserve to exist. That's a gargantuan effort. I bring that up because of this story here, and this story that was sent to me. Where is it? About an Amish farmer who has had a hell of a time. This Amish farmer has had a hell of a time because of the government turning against it. And I draw this up for you guys because it's important for us to know that if this can happen to these guys, this can happen to your motorcycle club. And what does it take to fight these guys is everything that it takes to fight motorcycle, everything that motorcycle clubs have to do to fight. So we're going to take a look at what has happened to this Amos Miller, a farmer who is a what do you call these guys? Natural farmers. What do you guys call them? Organic farmers. That's it. So we're going to look at this organic farmer. But first, I want to take a minute to thank our show sponsors. Our sponsor today is Troutman Martin Law. And you guys can use them to do your 501c3 and C7. That's what these guys are really good at, intellectual properties law. And we did a whole show with attorney Matthew Nolan on the show. You can get him at 612-644-3837 or mnolan at troutlaw.com, T-R-A-U-T law.com. Not the other trout, but trout, T-R-A-U-T law. Not the fish. And Troutman, Martin Law, these guys, you know, we had someone ask us, well, how do you get your 501c or whatever. So we had him on. I want you guys to go see that. We did that last Sunday. like and share and subscribe that one for any of you guys who want to do that sort of thing and get your motorcycle club on the next level. That's what it would be. Use these folks. I think they'd be good. And I also want you to use them because they are, of course, sponsors of the show, and they are helping to bring to you the stuff that we do. And you know, they help support it so we can make it happen. So, all right, here's the story. Amish Miller seeks compromise on farm case as Tucker Carlson takes up his struggle. Not just Tucker Carlson, but a lot of other folks have been looking at this case and what's happening to this guy, this farmer. So I'm not your organic farmer dude. I come from a farm, and you know, we weren't farming or maybe we were. Maybe we were farming organically. We just didn't know what this whole organic thing is. To me, organic is a term. And it's a BS term, a marketing term, because half of the stuff that they say is organic ain't. Like free range chickens. If you would look at what they call the range, it's not much different than them chickens sitting on top of each other in chicken coop cages. Okay, so now they're sitting on top of each other on the ground outside. That don't sound like a range to me. To me, a range is, well, give me a home where the buffalo roam and the deers and the antelopes play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and I'll show you a home on the range. That's a range. A range ranges. Old home on the range. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's a range. Outside in the front yard is not quite a range to me. I'm from Oklahoma, where we got ranges. Prairie land, purple mountain majesty above the fruited plain. You guys don't know nothing about that. Well, maybe Alyssa does. She lives up in Coldville. But anyway, this whole organic thing, a lot of it is just, to me, it's just BS. Like, if you want to eat good, go to the farmer's market, I say. But some people are really off into this organic thing. And so the idea that because where I come from, we don't eat what y'all eat. We don't eat cattle from the feeder lot. There's nothing but sickness and disease there. There's cattle only get so big, right? And then you have to, a cow on a range, it's only going to get so big. You got to go pin him up and feed him all this old crap for him to get so fat that you're going to make so much money off of him. But anyway, if I decided I didn't want to eat that, can the government say, oh, but you have to? Or if I decided I didn't want to buy from that place, can the government say, you got to buy that? I know you guys aren't. I know no one here is picking on my song. Don't do that. Y'all know that was beautiful. So anyway, back to the story here. The armed federal agents raid an Amish family's farm. Armed federal agents. When you think of armed federal agents, you think of them raiding a motorcycle club, right? with those Bearcat tanks sitting out in the front. We just saw the Outlaws guy. What is it? JoJo 1% that just got free yesterday. They found him not guilty in his court for the verdict, surrounded by police officers. Well, you didn't have anybody there wearing any motorcycle club insignia, yet they were surrounded by all these people with this bad will. This is what this Amish farmer saw on his farm, like his camels were gonna jump up with machine guns and protect the family farm. This was crazy. But anyway, I digress. So armed federal agents raid an Amish family's farm. Amos Miller may be getting closer to reaching a compromise with the federal government over the processing and selling of meats through his farming operation, but the story of Miller's organic farm has taken on its own life, appearing prominently on Fox News, Tucker Carlson tonight, and other media outlets. Miller said last week representatives from the U.S. Department of Agriculture came to his Upper Leacock farm, engaging in conversation about how to proceed with a plan to be able to sell beef, pork, and chicken through the farm cooperative, and the handling of more than $300,000 in outstanding fines levied against the business by the government. Yeah, they can bury you, bro. They can bury you. The visit comes from after several months after members of the U.S. Marshals showed up at Miller's farm, 6 vehicles deep, and brandishing weapons with the USDA inspectors in tow. So the USDA calls them up. Hey, man, we got to go over here. Don't worry. We're sending the army with you. Miller said the conversations with the federal officials last week were productive and presented a clear pathway for him to come into compliance with regulations. He said if the compromise can be finalized, Miller's organic farm could again be able to sell beef and pork to its more than 4,000 club members around the country by the fall. So 4,000 people have decided that they want to eat the food this man makes. That's not a lot of people. But it's enough to provide him a living. And the government has come in and said, no, you can't buy food from this man. Miller is hesitant, however, to reach a compromise that includes the requirement to, and here it is, the requirement to butcher animals at USDA-approved facilities rather than on his farm. Other facilities may use preservatives, including citric acid, that Miller and his club members do not want to consume. Now, I grew up. This is where I get mad. I get angry. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, kind of. So every summer, I grew up in Oklahoma, and every summer, I'd spend the entire summer at my auntie's house. And she lived in Wichita, Kansas. So I kind of grew up in Wichita because I spent every summer there from the time I was a little bitty boy until the time I went into the Navy. And I go home. When I go home to Oklahoma, or I go home to Kansas. I go home to Lawton or Oklahoma City or Kingfisher. These are the places: Kingfisher, Chickasha, Duncan, Oklahoma City, Lawton, Edmond, Norman. These are the places I grew up at and matriculated in, or I go home to Wichita, Kansas. And my uncle, William Hall, Uncle JP, I call him, worked in a packing house like the first 10 or 15 years of my life. Have you ever seen a packing house? They call them packing houses. I guess that is because that's where you would kill the animals and then package them and send them off to the uh, grocer. Have you ever smelled a packing house? A packing house. Have you ever lived in a neighborhood that has a packing house in it? You can smell the packing house 5 miles away from the damn thing. It stinks like hell. Or it used to. I haven't been to one in many years. But I can remember when we would drive past it on the damn highway. It's almost like driving past a feeding lot. You know, you can smell those. They have some in Texas as you're going across 10 or something like that. You can smell them for miles and miles and miles and miles. That's a USDA approved processing facility. Smell them like that. That's where they want you to eat your food out of rather than eat your food out of his place. It is crazy. Ghost Eagle said, I loved working in a packing house. I just hated the smell. You know what I'm talking about. The smell is freaking crazy. If it's smelling like that, I don't know. So anyway, back to the story. The Miller says that he doesn't really want to comply with that because that's going to mean he's got to send his animals to some place like that. And they use stuff like citric acid that is his members don't want to consume. He said, we're trying to reach a solution so that everybody can win at the end of the day. The threats of possibly going to jail over the large fines have continued to create stress for the Amish farmer. So here is an interesting thing. You get a ticket, which is called an infraction. Like I used to teach. I used to teach driving school in California. And the deal, you get a ticket, you can go to driver's education school, and the ticket no longer counts against your record. So you get that 2 points back. Used to be when I first started, you didn't have to pay the fine either. But they were so money hungry that they said, okay, well, you still have to pay the fine, but we won't report the ticket to your insurance. That's number one. And the ticket won't count. I won't count against you for points. That's number two. And you got to pay the fine again. But in the beginning, you didn't even have to pay the fine. So when I got out of the Navy, myself and a business partner, we bought 7 or 8 or 10 of them things, and we used to teach traffic school. So we were always, taught that a traffic violation was an infraction of the law. It's not a misdemeanor. No, this is San Diego law back in the 90s when I did this. It may have changed, but it's not a misdemeanor and it's not a felony. It's an infraction. And an infraction is only punishable with a fine, really. So how does an infraction turn into jail time? Well, let's just say you said, the hell with that. I'm not going to court. So now they hit you with something else, which is now a misdemeanor, which has nothing to do with the infraction. They change it to not showing up for court, and that's a misdemeanor. And now you're going to go to jail for what was originally an infraction. This is kind of what's going on with this guy. So they're going to take these civil penalties and turn that into some jail time because you won't pay the fines. That's crazy. Then they really get pissed off and say, oh, if you're not going to, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put your wife in jail too. So now you can see the complexity and how much stress this guy and his wife and his family are going through. It's crazy. So the threats of possibly going to jail over the large fines have continued to create a stress for the Amish farmer, who is currently in the height of the summer harvest season by gathering the inventories of homemade cheeses, butter, pickled vegetables, and other farm products. Miller's case has been making its way through the court system since 2016. So for people say, oh, it's just the Biden administration. Well, no, it's been going on for a while for this guy. 2 administrations, it seems, which lets you know that nobody's on our side. I'm just saying, no one is. So this has been going through the system since 2016 when the U.S. Department of Agricultural's Food Safety and Inspection Force, FISIS, represented by the U.S. Department of Justice, filed a civil action requiring Miller and his organizations, his organic farm, to comply with federal meat and poultry food safety statutes. If I remember correctly, there may have been a case of listeria that was reported, and I think that's what brought this whole thing on to him. The USDA continues to require Miller to operate under the federal grant of inspection before slaughtering, preparing, processing, or selling for distribution certain meats and poultry products. Miller had slaughtered the animals like cattle, chicken, and pigs without federal inspections of his operation for several years, arguing that his business model of selling private club memberships to his farm exempted him from federal regulations. You know what I mean, regulations. The Department of Justice won permanent injunctions against Miller in civil actions closed out in March 2017 and November 2019, while the FISIS later found Miller again out of compliance. He was eventually forced to stop selling most meat and poultry products earlier this year. Late in 2021, Miller asked to remove his lawyer, Dallas-based attorney Stephen LaFuente, from the case. Judge Edward G. Smith did not accept the motion to withdraw LaFuente. Now, you got to think about this. Don't you have the right to hire and fire anybody that's working for you if you don't feel like they are producing according to your standard, since you're the one paying? So if you got an attorney that you feel is crooked, incompetent, not moving fast enough, not answering the calls fast enough, or doesn't seem to know his business well enough, you're fired? You can't fire that person? The judge said, no, I won't let you fire this guy. This guy you believe is incompetent. We're going to continue to force you to use him. It's amazing. This can happen to your motorcycle club. It could happen. Absolute, outright governmental bullying. You know what I'm saying? So Miller filed an appeal called an interlocutory appeal. I don't know what that means, but it's the appeal he filed with Eastern District Court on May 10th, which was assigned to the Third Circuit Court. In appeal, Miller challenges Judge Smith's decision to retain LaFuente as his lawyer. The appeal charges that Judge Smith determined that Amos Miller does not have the right to choose his own attorney, and that the decision was made in error, and that the judge was acting irrationally and beyond the confines of public policy. You're going to just make me use this lawyer? Miller and his wife, Rebecca, are set to appear before Judge Smith on September 26th. That's just coming up in a couple weeks in a U.S. courthouse in Easton for a show cause hearing to consider adding Rebecca as a defendant in the case. So you refuse. This is almost, to me, it's almost like kidnapping or something. You refuse to comply. It's almost like, when you have a gang in your neighborhood and they've decided to come to your store and make you pay taxes to operate your store, and you say, well, I'm not going to do that. And they say, if you don't, we'll kill your wife. Like they like the addition of complexity. Oh, you refuse to do what we say, so now we're going to add your wife and family on to this. Like in when men deal with men, we don't include women. But when dirt balls and slime bags deal, they'll bring your family in. And to me, the government's acting real dirt ballish and slime baggish here. Wouldn't you say? They're going to have a show of cause hearing on September 26th to consider adding his wife, Rebecca, as a defendant in the case to examine compliance of paying $305,065 in fines and possible incarceration of Amos for his continuing civil contempt until the defendants now make such payments. So this is your farm. You're running it. You're handling the business. Wifey's in there cooking the meals, and you're going to now throw her in jail too. I think it's absolutely, absolutely crazy. In a motion for a stay of proceedings, that filed August 5th by Miller, he alleged that the Department of Justice and Judge Smith violated his rights by threatening in the show cause case that he's got to go to incarcerate not only him, but his spouse, an unnamed party so far to this action. How are you going to, you're going to threaten my wife? She ain't even a part of this. And he says that's terrible. You're violating my rights. The Department of Justice filed a response in opposition saying the court should deny the motion as a frivolous attempt to evade the court's enforcement of its civil contempt sanctions orders. This is frivolous. You threaten to put my wife in jail, and I file a motion against that, and you call that frivolous. I bet the guy I bet if someone threatened his wife, he wouldn't find it so frivolous. Miller responded with a notice of lack of due process, filing and arguing that the documents that were to be sent to him to give him this notice of this court hearing were instead forwarded to his former lawyer, La Fuente, and that he had not received them. So obviously him and La Fuente aren't getting along well. This is ugly. Miller said he wants to see the court case resolved successfully, but he's concerned about the precedent and repercussions. Through all of this, Miller is still concerned about you and I. He doesn't want this case to be used against hundreds of other farmers if it is successful against him. He said, I'd much rather have something good come out of this than this being a precedent set. The long-standing story of Miller's troubles with the federal government has recently struck a chord in media circles. Like mine. Here we are in biker news talking about your poor guy. Rebel News, a Canadian-based conservative media outlet, you guys remember them. They came to prominence with their coverage over the trucker protest in Ottawa and other parts of Canada earlier this year, featured a viral video of Miller and his farm. The video, created by investigative reporter Jeremy Lafredo, has been viewed more than 2 million times. And Rebel News now has a petition that has over 22,000 signatures on it. Miller's story got the most prominent feature on August 22 when good old Tucker Carlson interviewed him. There's him and Tucker there. And during his primetime Fox News show that routinely receives more than 3 million views per night. In the segment, Carlson strongly denounced the actions of the federal government toward Miller, calling it a shocking story and hard to believe. So the federal government, says Carlson, went after gyms, organic farms, and churches. He forgot to say, and motorcycle clubs. Forgot to say that. But we won't forget to say that here. So they went after gyms, organic farms, and churches. So maybe they're against anything that's wholesome and edifying, that makes you stronger and healthier, in favor of everything that diminishes you and makes you more dependent. So, yeah. And motorcycle clubs make us stronger and healthier and less dependent because we got our bros to depend on and not the government. Here is the uh, viral video. Where is it? I thought it was here somewhere. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. This is the video that he showed, and I'll show it to you guys. Hold on, let me. Oh, is this really an ad? You can skip this ad and okay, close the ad.
Despite being rated by
all right, so let me do this for you. Let me pull the video, the sound inside the computer so you guys can hear it. Here we go. So check this story out real quick. We'll do this.
Armed U.S. Marshals and facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines explain that farmers need to stand strong.
We farmers need to stand together and stay strong. And we need to make sure the government, we can't just fall for the government's rules and regulations because the big corporations want to take over. And at the other note, we need consumers. We need their support and stand strong and just tell the senators, the congressmen, how important small farms are. No farmers means no food. So we all need to work together in this.
If you want to help Miller's Farm, go to leavethemalone.com and sign our petition. That's leavethemalone.com. I'm Jeremy Lafredo for Rebel News in Birmingham, Pennsylvania, a remote Amish village home to Miller's Organic Meat and Dairy Farm. Recently, armed federal agents raided the farm and demand they cease operations and pay over $300,000 in fines. Miller's operation is entirely holistic and natural. Whether it's the water buffalo, the cattle, or even the camels, the animals live, as Miller argues, how God intended and eat fully organic diets, munching only on wild plants, flowers, and the bugs in their pasture. The federal government is arguing that Miller's farm isn't adhering to federal regulatory requirements for food. Miller, his community, and his thousands of customers counter that the federal government mandates food be prepared in ways that make it less healthy and nutritious. Federal agents continue to pay him visits and threaten his farm, crippling the business economically with over $300,000 in outstanding fines. Veteran journalist Michael Yoder is a longtime customer of Amos Miller's farm and has been closely covering the story for a local newspaper. Yoder explained that he believes the government wants to use a successful, independent farmer as an example for other American farmers who aren't dependent on some larger institution such as the federal government or a multinational corporation.
Personally, I think they want to use Amos as an example to make sure that other farmers, especially farmers in this area, do not try to do what Amos has done, which is to sell directly to the customers. When you have direct to consumer right from the farmer to the customer, there's less control that the government can have over the operation.
He also explained that the Amish farmland in Lancaster, Pennsylvania is some of the most productive, highest yielding, non-irrigated farmland in the world, and that the people there have a special familial connection to the land that special interests would very much enjoy to get their hands on.
This land has been in production for 250 years. Many of the farms are still in the same families. The farmers are literally tied to the land and want to do the best for the land. They're not out there to try to destroy the land. They want their land to be productive, and they know that if it's more productive, then they can feed more people.
The courts are demanding Miller fork over more than $250,000 in fines and cease operations until he begins to go through USDA processors to process his meat. It's Miller's view that these government-approved facilities are actually less sanitary than his own private operation, which I saw as extraordinarily clean, and he argued the way the government facilities process meat actually kills or, quote, sanitizes important nutrients. Miller explained that because his farm doesn't use chemical fertilizers, herbicides, or patented seeds, which are chiefly manufactured by industry giants with strong ties to the government, they're using the power of the government to shut him down.
I think the problem we're having in this country is that corporate America is taking over, and the corporations, I think, put the people in government through lobbying. They're having the government on their side and basically making it hard for farmers to be farmers.
Miller is legally arguing that because he's selling to what he calls a private food club, not the open market, certain rules and regulations of the federal government don't apply to him, and the customers are buying meat and dairy from his farm explicitly because the food isn't processed and manufactured at these giant industrial facilities and instead are grown, fed, and processed right here on the land.
Some come from Florida, California, North Carolina, basically all over. They are seeking nutrient-dense foods, raw meat, raw buffalo milk, raw camel milk. So far they trust us for the animals being out on grass, and they can actually see the color in The fat of the beef and the milk, actually, there's no food coloring added. It has its nice color, and that actually comes from the nutrient density of the animals feeding grass.
I think customers come here because they know that they can get an honest product that they know is being produced here. It's not just words on a label that say it's organic or it's local, that you can come here and you can see this is as local as it gets.
Amos, despite being raided by armed U.S. Marshals and facing hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, explained that farmers need to stand strong.
We farmers need to stand together and stay strong. And we need to make sure the government, we can't just fall for the government's rules and regulations because the big corporations want to take over. And at the other note, we need consumers. We need their support and stand strong and just tell the senators, the congressmen, how important small farms are. No farmers means no food. So we all need to work together in this.
Wow. You know what I mean, man? You know what I mean? So there's a lot to compact here, a lot to unpack. Is this actually big businesses who want to take over farmland? Farmland is very expensive, and as populations get bigger, all land is expensive. So these folks are being pushed out, and all kinds of things are happening with them. And my thing is the connection. When you think of what's going on and when you see these kinds of things happening to our motorcycle clubs, you got to wonder what's happening to our quality of life. Anybody can be seen as a subversive. And therefore, when you become a subversive, you become a target to be stamped out. Motorcycle clubs are being seen as subversive. And it's going to be up to you guys to fight those stereotypes. Every person that is a bad actor in a motorcycle club, 99%er, 1%er, riding club, whatever, a back patch wearing club, you make it hard for every single one of us when you continue to do those bad acts in the public and give the government more ammunition to come against us. Here's a farmer. They're going after his wife. Imagine being one of those hundreds of people at Waco that they threw in jail on $1 million bond. How many lost their jobs? When you're just 2 paychecks away from poverty, and you're sitting in jail on $1 million budget, not budget bill. You're sitting on $1 million bill, and you don't get to go to your job for a week or two or a month. Do you have anything when you come home? If you're living in an apartment, is your stuff out on the street? Did you just lose everything you ever worked for? Did they come pick your car up? Well, we don't know the stories of those people that they wound up not even prosecuting. You were arrested. Your picture was put up for everybody to see. Your neighbors got to know that you were a gang banging biker, even though you might not have even been in the club that they considered the gang. And you've lost your home, your house, your car, your wife, your job, maybe. They didn't even prosecute you. Just dropped your $1 million bond and said go. They surrounded the area. They came to this farmer's farm. Did you see the picture of that farm? What do you need armed machine gun kit? This wasn't like a David Koresh operation. It's like when they went to Ruby Ridge with all that nonsense. Shot a man's wife holding a baby in her arms. She was a target for a subversive. Oh, we've seen this happening in the hood forever. Our Black Panthers being surrounded and killed, our folks being put out as subversives. We've known this for a long time. NWA, the whole group came up with the whole NWA. We got an attitude. Government just around here arresting people. I remember when I was a black kid driving through Los Angeles in the 80s. You just get pulled over, put on your knees, your hands behind your back, got all these people standing there with guns on you. We've seen this for a while. This is new, probably, for the Amish. Welcome. Yeah. Gio the Great says gang banging biker doesn't even sound right. Totally two different lives. I've lived both. You're a bad man. So, yeah, man. Yeah. Going after your wife, surrounding your clubhouse with bearcats, driving through the front door. Remember your Gypsy Jokers up there? When we first started doing biker news, they kept driving through those guys' front doors with the bear. I was like, geez, Louise, you guys should just make your door out of paper. What was wrong with just knocking? So, we got a lot going on. No, somebody didn't say Soylent Green. Is that you? Is that you, Fort Spots? He said Soylent Green. They're too young to know what that means. They don't even know what the hell you're talking about. Good one, though. I like that. So, hey, listen, man, listen. There's John. My lunch break is winding down. I wondered if I'd at least get a hello. Hello. Were you talking to me? Hello. So, yeah, man, it's crazy out here. And I think that more and more we're seeing that we're having a government that is, man, I've been watching this new series. Is it new? I've been watching, it's either on Prime or it's called Into the Night. It is cool. I've been watching a lot of that lately. And Into the Night are these poor folks that have discovered that the sun is killing you. So they got to just keep running to the night. And so in the latest one, I saw this woman on the airplane, this crazy woman. She went crazy. And, they're using this airplane to just keep them in the darkness. They got to fly to where it's going to be dark. It's crazy. And this woman goes crazy and just beats up the airplane, tears the damn airplane apart, locks herself in the cockpit, and just destroys anybody's ability to run away and leave. I kind of feel like the government is going crazy like that. They're just almost like an insane person. Just if they feel like you're coming at them, if they feel like you're not complying, they're just beating you down they're tearing up the cockpit of Americans, just tearing it all up. Used to be that certain people in the country were protected. Now, not so much anymore. Everybody's seeing that the government can turn on your butt in a heartbeat. Some of the folks that have never been able to see that before I say, welcome. Come on in. enjoy the system that has been created. All right, man. That's my hour. Absolutely appreciate you guys for tuning in today. I heard someone say this weekend, oh my goodness, I forgot his name. I watched Black Dragon, but gosh, that guy can talk long. Yes, I can. I appreciate those who sit around and listen. Remember to contact our sponsor, call attorney Matthew Nolan at 612-644-3837 at the Trout Law, or mnolan at troutlaw.com. That's MNOLAN at troutlaw.com. Check those guys out for your motorcycle club intellectual properties, if you will. They will help you to get your 501c3 and C7 and nonprofit status and trademark your name and stuff like that. That's what they do. So we absolutely appreciate them. Those are our new sponsors. Glad to have them on. Black Dragon, you need to watch The Last Chase with Lee Majors in it. You mean the old Lee Majors? Is he still alive? Is Lee Majors still alive? Wow. Or is this an old show? I didn't think Lee Majors was. We lost our girl that he was married to for a while. You guys remember her? She was the finest thing in the world for a while. Farrah Fawcett. Yeah, she was doing all right. Let me see here. Trying to finish out. I don't mean to. Okay. I'm looking at you guys. Excellent show, everyone. Oh, thank you for that. I'm just trying to catch up real quick on my comments. Woodrow Wilson was the godfather of liberalism. I'll have to check that out. Okay, I think I'm doing good with you guys. All right. So anyway, we will be here tomorrow. I bought a very expensive car and went on a road trip with my 12-year-old daughter, my 8-year-old son, and we will stop 4 times. They couldn't understand why we were being stopped. Oh, somebody here was racially profiled or profiled in some kind of way. I'm not sure if it was racial profiling because I don't know who you are, but you were stopped more times than you should have been. Well, I think a few of us have been there. Man, Black Dragon said old Lee Majors. Oh, you guys know Lee Majors was out in the 70s with the $6 million man. We can rebuild him. Hey, they don't know. It was the first time slow motion was used in video. Some say the lunar landing was done, but we're not going to go there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, that's cool. I think we got everything, and we just hit our hour. This is cool. Everything is done. I think we've done good today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Now, you guys know we do this every day, so I'll see you all tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel. And typically, I will have some kind of. We did another video yesterday afternoon for riding clubs. Somebody asked me, how do you start a riding club without having to go through all of the BS? Can we just have a riding club and not have to have it blessed or anything like that? And I said, yeah, here are my 5 tips for doing that. So that was yesterday's video. So you guys make sure to share that and get that out. I'm Black Dragon. That's my 2 cents. Love to hear your 2 cents in the comment section below. Thanks for tuning in, and get skinny. And of course, get the book. Prepare yourself to take the helm as president of your mighty motorcycle club by delving into the pages of Black Dragon's newest book, The President's Bible, Chronicle 1, Principles of Motorcycle Club Leadership. There you will learn to advance your skills in applying the 14 scientific principles of leadership similar to those taught to officers in the United States Naval Service. Available in hardcover, paperback, and ebook. Get yours today on Amazon, Kindle, or order it at your local bookstore. Order your autographed copy from blackdragonsgear.com. Be the best motorcycle club president you can be. Get the book.
Get Black Dragon's first book, The Prospects Bible, to learn how to join a motorcycle club. It has been an Amazon #1 bestseller for the past 7 years and is required reading for over 3,000 motorcycle clubs worldwide. This book is a must-have for new people venturing onto the motorcycle club set. It will teach you how to prepare yourself for service to the motorcycle club nation and show you how to qualify a motorcycle club to be worthy of your service. Available on Amazon, Kindle, and for order at your local bookstore. Get your autographed copy at blackdragonsgear.com. Be the best motorcycle club prospect you can be. Get the book.
You are fake news.
Black Dragon Biker News Network. Biker news you can trust.
Biker news you can trust. Biker news you can trust. Biker news you can trust.